Right, Shalom. First, I'd like to give all praises unto Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, and double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. And honors to you brothers out there in the highways and the byways, teaching this word in all sincerity and in truth. Oh, maybe I should have done that simplified for you. Yeah, shalom to you brothers that's listening and learning, supporting the ministry, and to the sisters as well. I just want to go into some information here about, the slavery that our people went through. It focuses in on the Southern Kingdom, but the Northern Kingdom, they were put into captivity too. By that, I mean the so-called Hispanics and the Native American Indians, they were put into captivity and are still in captivity to this very day. And that's a thing that's why I want to read this article, because a lot of our people are ignorant to what slavery is. That's why they don't believe they're in slavery anymore, because they think slavery is just being owned by a particular man. All they did was they took the ownership of labor from being in private hands to being in the state hands. So right now you are owned by the state, your state property, instead of being private property, and you are leased to private companies to work. And that's why that company, when you work for that company has to follow the rules of the state, because they're using the state's labor force. They're using state property, man. All right, a lot of people don't understand that in slavery is just employment, man. And you get whatever amenities or whatever your employer affords you, that's what you get. And some employers would afford you, some slave masters would afford you more, some slave masters would afford you less. Different slaves had different skills and different jobs, just like today. And just like today, you were really working to the benefit of your slave master more than you are to your own benefit, because the system does not benefit you. The system is designed to benefit the owners of that system. And it's still like that to this very day. But you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native American Indians are ignorant to the fact that to this very day, you languish in the lowest socio-economic regions of every town, city, and nation that you reside in. Because whichever way you want to slice it, whether you want to talk about Brazil, Argentina, Jamaica, America, Britain, France, those countries and organizations and corporations were not set up for your benefit or for your uplifting or for your profit, but they were set up to use your labor. And that's why to this very day, you are not the beneficiaries of this man's society, man. All right, the luxuries and the things that this society has to offer are not catered to you. Case in point, the whole holiday industry. Anytime I've been on holiday, I've noticed that it's not catered towards people like me, what I like to eat, what I like to do. It's catered to so-called white people. Why? Because so-called white people are the main people that can afford to go on holiday. So therefore, if you got a holiday resort, you cater it towards the majority of people who you are looking to come. The people who you know have money. The people who you know reside in the middle and the upper classes more than anyone else. It's a fact. But anyway, I want to get into this article and I want to pull out some scriptures. It's time for you, Jakes, to wake up and disconnect yourself from this plantation, man. Because that's all it is. All right? It says slavery was work. And what is it that everyone is looking for in this day and age? Especially you so-called Negroes. What the hell are you? What is your life all about? Let me see if I can get a track up here, man. I got it open, man. Yeah, I was just watching these Edomites on holiday in Jamaica eating some damn conch. Oh, man, our people are going off. Man's cooking up conch. Anyway, Let's get what was I getting? Totally slipped my mind just now. Yeah. This is what I wanted. Hopefully I don't get hit with a copyright. The Miracles, I Got a Job.
Walked all day till my feet were tired. I was low, I just couldn't get hired. Saw a sign in a grocery store. Help is light, and we need some more. I got a job.
You know, that's all a Jake want, man. A job. That's because you're a slave, man. You're a slave, man. That's what a slave... What the hell do you think a slave is? A servant, man. It's a guy with a job, man. You want a job, man. That's all you aspire to. Is just to have a job. But more than that, you want a good job. You want a good job for master. Yeah, that's what it's about. You still a slave, man. All right? You still a slave, Neo. All right? Slavery was work. What is it that, the minute you're born into this world, your whole life is geared towards getting a job in this man's society, in this man's system, to work for one of his corporations. Yeah? That's what it's all about, man. Now, you could talk about becoming a entrepreneur and all this crap, but you ain't gonna become an entrepreneur and get no Fortune 500 company and be a billionaire. More than likely, your company is gonna get ate up by another company that's run and controlled by one of these Edomites, man. Most of you Jakes are just trying to get a job, trying to get employed, trying to work. Whether you're a basketballer or what the hell do you think a basketballer and a boxer is? What the hell do you think the gladiators were in Rome? They were slaves, man. And if they worked hard and they got enough glory in the arena, they would be afforded prostitutes and different things. But they were still slaves, man. And they were there for the entertainment of the Roman public. All right? Slavery was work, often very hard work, sustained by force and the threat of humiliation and separation from family and community. Now you're not forced to work. But because they got so many slaves now, they got the slaves competing to work. They don't have to force you to work no more. You need to work. Otherwise, you ain't going to be able to survive. You're going to be struggling. So that's why you out there talking about, I got a job. Worked all day till my feet was and all this shit. Now they ain't got to force you. You ain't got nowhere else to go. You need to come on the plantation because you ain't got nothing. You begging the plantation for a job. That's what happened, man. Wake the fuck up, man. Wake the hell up, man. When the British so-called ended slavery, they compensated the slave masters, released the slaves out of private ownership into state ownership of the plantations. The slaves didn't have no land, no money, no nothing to do, so they had to go back on the same plantation to get a job and doing the same thing they were doing the day before, just for low wages. Wake the hell up, man. That's why the Apostle Tahar, which I'm going to get a scripture, that's why Apostle Tahar did a video of it the other day, and he showed the condition that you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native American Indians, man. It is a fact that you as a people reside in the lowest socio-economic bracket in America, in Britain, in France, in Germany, in Brazil, in Argentina. Yeah, if you go Brazil and Argentina, the people that are living it good, they're all descendants of Europeans, man, Edomites. They're not natives, man. Wake the hell up, man. You in slavery still. You still in captivity, man. Trying to get a job. Where's the video the apostle showed, man? Yeah, you messed stop America.
It won't stop. One next to each other with stats is nice. The cities in America, girl, where she might get freedom, might.
But you want to love America, man. You want to praise America. America ain't for you, man. It's never been for you. It's never set up for you, and it's still not for you to this very day. Let's get some scriptures, man. This is Deuteronomy 28, verse 15, man. It says, "But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I commanded thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee." Yeah? And then one of them curses is that what? "And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships," which America is nothing more than spiritual Sodom and Egypt. "The Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you," man. For bondmen and bondwomen. That was the hardcore slavery that you served. But you're no longer bondmen and bondwomen in terms of physical bonds. You now have social and economic bonds on you. Which is why you are striving to get a job. Before you were shackled up, you had to be shackled and whipped to work. Now you got to work. They don't need to shackle you up and whip you to work. You're at the door begging them to come back on the plantation because you need the money that job is going to give you so you could buy a t-shirt, you could buy this, you could buy that, you could provide for your children, because you can't go out and produce for yourself because you have nothing. You don't have your own land. You don't have your own anything. You are still coming to your enemy in the one of all things. Every industry and infrastructure is still controlled by him. From the banking industry down to the water, down to everything is controlled by your enemy. So you got to come to him. So he's like, okay, you want sign? Then you got to work. And don't tell me about no damn fucking welfare, man. Welfare, you can't live on that. That's not living. Let's keep it real. Welfare is a joke. And then when you really break it down, that money they give in welfare goes straight back to their corporations and their companies anyway. It don't really go to you. It's not your society, man. The money always goes round and ends up right back where it was designed to be, at the top. Ain't no trickle down economics, man. It's trickle up. All right. Now, the article mentioned something just now. It says slavery was work, often very hard work, sustained by force and the threat of humiliation and separation from family and community. Well, hold on. That's what they would do. They would sell you or sell one of your children to another slave master. Yeah, that's part of the curses. This is Jeremiah 28 and 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and then I shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand. You could have a son, you could have a daughter, you could have a wife, you could have a husband, and at any moment they could be sold and taken and you never see them again, because you didn't, at that time, your plantation was your country. See, now, let your ass go to the airport, right? If you're in America and you wanna go to Britain, right? You gotta have what's known as a passport. If you don't have a passport, you ain't gonna be allowed to get on that plane and leave the country. You gotta have permission from the state to travel from one state to the other. Now, in hardcore slavery, instead of it being the entire country, You had to have permission to leave from one plantation to another. That's why if you watch 12 Years a Slave, when the black woman just upped and left the plantation, she got her ass whooped. That's why they had the paddy rollers, man. If you was a slave and you were caught outside of a plantation without the proper documents, you were finished. You had to have a passport. You had to have a written permission to travel. It's the same thing today, just on a different scale, because now your plantation is the entire country. Right? But when you go back then, if they took your husband, your wife, your daughter, whatever the case may be, and they sent them to another plantation, you ain't never gonna see them again, because there was gonna be no reason for them to come back, and hardly any reason for you to go. There weren't no social visits, man. That was it. And devil didn't care how much you cried about it. It was business. It's all business to them. That's what it is. It's business. All right. Let's go back over here, man. Most commonly, it was routinized and mind-numbing, a repetition of the same tasks or movements, changed only by the season of the year or time of day. Most of you jakes are still doing jobs which are exactly the same. Mind-numbing, evoking an early industrial model where workers were no more than cogs in a machine. When you ask, go to McDonald's and you just flipping burgers all day, they turned it. You're not even a chef. You're not even cooking different meals. You're literally doing one thing all day. You're on the fries that day, so that all you're gonna be doing is frying up fries and putting them in the package, or you're on flipping burgers that day. They industrialized everything to the point where it's a menial, repetitive tasks, man. Man, this image gave rise to the expression factories in the field, evoking an early industrial model where workers were no more than cogs in a machine. And that's all you are. You are cogs in this machine, and your blood, sweat, and tears is the fuel. And Esau's the one riding that machine. He's the one benefiting, man. Especially their elite and their upper classes and their middle classes, which you jakes don't really have no representation in. Yet plantation labor was not always and everywhere the same. Work on sugar plantations in the West Indies was not the same as that on rice plantations in South Carolina, which was different again from what enslaved laborers did on tobacco farms in Chesapeake. In the 17th and 18th century, when slavery extended to the middle colonies and New England, work there was even more different, at least in the variety of tasks and the influence an enslaved person might exercise over his or her work. So there always was, not every person served slavery exactly the same, man. Just like today, you got different jobs. Some jobs are considered good jobs, some jobs are considered not, but you're still a slave. They could sometimes initiate a change of master. So they're showing you there that certain slaves back then, they could request to have a change of master. Just like now you hand in your resignation and you go to a different job to go work for another cracker, another devil. Though in other ways, particularly in the element of compulsion, it was much the same. Moreover, labor in all these places changed over time and was dependent upon advances in mechanization, stages of plantation development, and changes in management outlooks. Everywhere circumstances diverged between those who merely did common labor and those who exercised skills. So just like in this today's society, you got unskilled labor and you got skilled labor. In 18th century North America, planters in Chesapeake expected to have a large number of skilled slaves as well as common laborers. You had different levels of jake. So you got some jakes that were just, lift and put down jakes. But then you had certain jakes that they would train them up in a skill, like a carpenter, a plumber, whatever it could, because it would be beneficial to the plantation. I have my flocks and my herds, my bondmen and bondwomen. We got to go back to Deuteronomy 20:68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spoke unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. You see, that was us. We were bondmen and bondwomen, and we're still in slavery to this very day. Right? We haven't been freed. We haven't been released. We're still on the plantation. The plantation just got bigger. And they changed up some of the rules. But who sets the rules? The same person that was setting the rules back then is the same person that's setting the rules today. Civil rights. Civil rights is slave rights. Who gave you those rights? The same person that gave you those rights is the same person that can take them away. Sovereign people are not given rights by anyone. That's why your dumbass is out there in the streets with placards begging the so-called white man to do this, begging him to do that, begging him to change this, do this, do this, do that. Because he is the power. You're not the power. He is the power. So whatever amenities he's granting onto you, he's granting them onto you. You ain't taking them. If someone's giving you rights, it's not a right, it's a privilege. Just like I give my children, I might say to my children, yeah, you can watch TV for an hour. That's not their right. I gave them that. I could take that away at any moment I want because I'm the power. Same thing with the so-called white man. He's still the master. You Jakes don't even get that. And every sort of trade amongst my own servants. So you had slave masters that prided themselves that they didn't just have pick up and put down slaves. They had different slaves who would have a skill. And then what they would do is they would use those slaves for the things they needed, so they didn't have to bring in nobody from outside the plantation. And then they would even lend those slaves to other plantations for them skills, and the slave would actually get paid, but a portion of the slave's pay would go back to their owner. Does that remind you of anything? It's called taxation. That's what you do. You work for a company, the company pays you, but a portion of your pay goes to the government because you're a slave. You're owned by the government. And you might say, well, there's other so-called white people there, but this is their kingdom. They're serving in their own kingdom to their own benefit. You're serving in his kingdom to his benefit. All right? It says, wrote William Byrd too in 1727. Right, why is my battery power dying? Oh, that's peak. Who expressed an ideal of being able to live in the kind of independence on everyone but Providence. James Grant described a similar attitude as existing in the lower South, including South Carolina and Georgia. The planter has tradesmen of all kinds in his gang of slaves, and 'tis a rule with them never to pay money for what can be made upon their estates, not a lock, a hing, or a nail if they can provide it. So did they allow these slaves to get these skills because they wanted to better them and empower them? No, they needed it. It was business, man. Everything the so-called white man does is business. And it's for his own profit, man. And if you don't get that by now. In other words, planters expected enslaved people to perform a wide range of jobs that included carpenter, cooper, boatman, cook, seamstress, and blacksmith, to mention only a few of the skilled functions required around plantations. In a country that was not as developed as it would be in the 19th century, plantations have to have artisans to produce locally what might have been easy to get elsewhere at a later period. Talented bondspeople also ensured the planter's personal comfort, as in the case of expert and sensitive body servants. Both George Washington and Thomas Jefferson had accomplished cooks, and Jefferson's was French trained. One could not readily dispense with such people, whether making boats or barrels, building barns or houses, making furniture, either fine or just functional, being made to make or repair harnesses or do other leather work or various kinds of iron work. People with artisanal capability were in short supply in the 18th century and not everywhere in the 19th century, and expensive where found. Of course, the possession of skills gave slaves leverage because planters desired to keep them at home and at work rather than by bad treatment, encouraging them to flee. If the planter were a small one, just getting started, he might be working with his slaves, giving rise to what some scholars have called sawbuck equality, evoked by the image of a master and slave in early South Carolina who worked several days sawing logs, each facing the other on opposite ends of the whipsaw. Their very real social distance was mitigated by a mutual awareness of the limitations of force in an inchoate society. The restraints of compulsion were moderated by the enslaved person's pride of accomplishment, as well as the master's acknowledgement of the value to the plantation's enterprise. And that's how it is to this day. You jakes get pride from helping Esau build his corporation, and you get an award or a pat on the back or a gold medal. But Esau's just using you, man. And but when he has no need of you, he's going to throw you in the bin. Hey, let's get a scripture. Nice. Sirach 12 and 10. Never trust thine enemy, for like an iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed, and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hadst wiped a looking glass. And thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away. Let's take these celebrities. People like The Rock, Will Smith, Vin Diesel, they make a lot of money in Hollywood. They get praised in Hollywood because why? They make Hollywood a lot of fucking money, man. So they gonna come humble. Yeah. They're making, if these guys are making 50 million on a movie, how much you think Esau's making? So yeah, they gonna humble themselves. Michael Jordan, LeBron James, they gonna give them their contract, but Esau's still taking more than they are. That's the only reason why you think Esau would make it, where Jake is earning more money than him? Jake is benefiting more than him? Hell no. Are you crazy? Esau's the one. Esau's got these guys. He needs them because they're the only ones that can draw in the people. When Jake mesmerizes people. And so if you're in the entertainment industry, you want people that's going to mesmerize people and make them shell out money to watch them. As soon as they can't do that, man, they don't give a fuck about them. Esau don't give a damn about you. Esau only cares about what profit you can bring to him. The minute you ain't profitable to him, that's it. You're finished, man. You're done. He gonna change in a minute. Your time is past. And thou shalt know that his rust have not been altogether wiped away. Set him not by thee, lest when he have overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith. Who will pity a charmer that is bitten with a serpent, or any such as come nigh wild beasts? So one that goeth to a sinner, and is defiled with him in his sins, who will pity? For a while he will abide with thee, but if thou begin to fall, he will not tarry. And he only gonna roll with you when it's profitable, man. An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit. Yeah, they gonna trap you. They always looking for a way to trap you, man. And that's what they do with these celebrities. They entrap them. They really put them in a trap so they could continue to milk them until they ain't no more milk, and then they get rid of you. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. If adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first. And though he pretend to help thee, yet shall he undermine thee. He will shake his head and clap his hands and whisper much and change his countenance, man. It's devil, man. Ain't nothing changed, man. Esau ain't changed, man. All right? I might have to continue this article, man. There's a lot of good information, man. So you got to do a lot of reading. The more you read about the hardcore slavery, the more you see the similarities, man. You realize ain't shit really changed, man. It says the restraints of compulsion was moderated by the enslaved person's pride of accomplishment, as well as the master's acknowledgement of his value to the plantation enterprise. Yeah? Most slaves, however, that's why these Jakes always seeking Esau's approval, and Esau just give him a pat on the back, and, you know, you good, we respect you. Most slaves, however, were common laborers, you know, pick up and put down people. At the earlier stage of plantation development, slaves, even common laborers, worked in a traditional fashion, with each being responsible for a multitude of tasks under relatively little supervision. As plantations developed, gang labor superseded traditional laboring methods. So Esau constantly updates his system to get the most productivity out of his labor force. That's what it's all about. Esau does not care about you. Under this system, the processes of cultivation were different. That's why you go to these Amazon warehouses, they're tracking and tracing you and counting how many boxes you're lifting, and everything's computerized. They're trying to maximize the productivity they get out of you, man. They don't care about you. Keep you on them 0-hour contracts. Man, Esau ain't changed, man. It's all about the bottom line. Under this system, the processes of cultivation were divided into simple tasks capable of minute supervision, where field hands worked in lockstep under the eye of a white overseer or black driver, because you even had Jakes that were put in supervisor roles. Just like you got Jakes that are in supervisor and managerial positions today, even in Esau's army. So what? He carried a whip as an emblem of authority and a means of coercion. Gang, now they might just threaten to fire you, which is worse than getting whipped for some people, because you threw. When you live in hand to mouth, man, getting fired from your job can totally fuck your life up for the rest of your life. A lot of people end up lose the job, end up living on the streets if you lose your job at the wrong time. Gang labor developed at different times in various places and was perhaps first closely associated with sugar cultivation in Barbados, because the West Indies, man, they really developed the whole plantation more than anyone else, and then they educated other plantations on the business theory. Like, it went from Barbados to the rest of the islands and then up into the Americas. How to really run that shit, like, to get that proper productivity. Was not Willie Lynch from the West Indies? Historians do not agree on when it first appeared there, but associate it with a transition from white indentured servitude to African slavery, so-called African, really Israelite, and development of a new plantation structure that more efficiently and economically produced sugar. And that's all Esau cared about. That's why when they so-called ended bond slavery, they switched to what? Wage slavery, and also they use debt slavery, which is which where you get the sharecroppers, because it was more efficient. And there was less duty of care from the business owner. Like, a business owner today ain't got to worry about feeding you and all this, that, and the other. They give you the money and you go deal with that for yourself. One historian argues that it developed uniquely among the English, and because their cultural outlook permitted them to apply so harsh a regimentation only to people as ethnically distinct as Africans, but not everyone accepts this racial interpretation. Englishmen treated English indentured servants with extreme rigor, certainly more rigorously in America than people in the same condition were treated in England, though legal considerations, however laxly regarded, imposed some limits, as did the realization, at least in North America, that some of the mistreated would eventually command free status and political influence. To the extent that no such restraints applied to Africans, as they say here, race may be said to have influenced the development of gang labor. It was common in Barbados by the 18th century and served as an example for other English plantation regions. See, I'm reading this, man. I'm getting hot right now. And it's cold in here. I'm hot all of a sudden. In 18th century, Chesapeake tobacco plantations were divided into various units, specializes in the growth of staple crop, but also in the production of corn and other food crops, the care of livestock and other products necessary to support the enterprise. The home unit, comprising the plantation mansion and outbuildings, housing cooks and craftsmen, also had storage sheds and dock to receive supplies and send off tobacco. The region was characterized by gang labor, modified by the stage of plantation development and the task at hand. The master laid claim to the full service of the enslaved, who normally worked from sunrise to sunset, planting, hoeing, harvesting, and preparing the fields before and after these major events. And you got to remember, this is before the Industrial Revolution, so human resources were in dire demand. Now they need people less. So the dynamic has changed. They took place under the watchful eye of the overseer, who insisted on a set pace and punished those who fell short. Herding might provide greater freedom and more contrast, but also entailed more responsibilities, ensuring the safety of the animals. By the middle of the century, some Chesapeake plantations became more diversified, growing wheat and other crops, which often required few slaves, and labor was less gang-like in terms of the number of workers supervised, but no less regulated, man. And there's more I can read. I might have to come back to some of this, man. But hey, the bottom line is, man, you could see that it was all about you working for the benefit of this man's kingdom, and that hasn't changed. That's why you are still in this man's society, the tail and not the head. You're still under them curses. You're still cursed in the city. You're still cursed in the field. You're still oppressed. You're still coming to your enemy in the want of all things. You're using his money. You're using it, products produced by his industries. You borrowing money from him. You begging him for legislation. You voting for him because he's promising you a better life, promising you a better job, a good job. All right? Deuteronomy 28:16. Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field. You cursed, man. You getting the shitty end of the stick, man. Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store. That's why we haven't amassed any wealth. Now, if you watch MTV Base and BET, you might think that's the case, but that's not the reality. All right? Mayweather is not the reality of the average so-called Negro. Yeah, there are way more Edomite millionaires than there are you Jakes. Infinitely more. That's why all your millionaires are on TV. Esau's got so many millionaires, you don't even know. You be on the train with a guy. I've met millionaires. You wouldn't even know the guy's a millionaire. The guy's just wearing a pair of jeans and a shirt. Dude's a fucking millionaire. All your millionaires are on TV because they're all entertainers. Making Esau billions in that entertainment industry. Deuteronomy 28:29, and thou shalt grope at noonday as the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. You are still in a system of oppression. You are still in a system of oppression. You are not free. You are not sovereigns. You are still in another man's house. You don't have your own. I don't care if you in Jamaica's a slave colony. Trinidad is a slave colony. Antigua is a slave colony. Where Esau can strip resources from, leave your ass down there poor as hell, and send his people over there onto resorts to enjoy the good things that the island has to offer. Yeah, just go to Jamaica. Tourists enjoy Jamaica 1,000,000 times more than the people in Jamaica enjoy Jamaica. Tell me I'm lying. Brothers from Jamaica would tell you that. So what does that say? Deuteronomy 20:30, the fruit of thy land and all thy labors, your labor, your work, shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt only be oppressed and crushed always. You've worked harder than any people, but what have you got to show for it? Nothing. Because another person is eating your labor. These nations are serving themselves of you. All right, in fact, let's end with that. Because the time is coming, man, through Yahweh Shai, the deliverer, where we're going to be delivered out of this bondage into the liberty to serve Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai and our king, David, man. And we're going to be a part of an enterprise which is for our benefit, not for the benefit of another. And Jeremiah 38, for it shall come to pass in that day, said the Lord of hosts, that will break his yoke from off thy neck and will burst thy bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves of him. But they shall serve the Lord their God and David their king, whom I will raise up unto them. Therefore fear thou not, O my servant Jacob, saith the Lord, neither be dismayed, O Israel, for lo, I will save thee from afar, and thy seed from the land of their captivity. And Jacob shall return and shall be in rest, and be quiet, and none shall make him afraid. You in this society gripped by fear, fear of loss, fear of being outcasted, fear of being left behind. You just gripped by fear in this society because you ain't nobody, man. Your people ain't nothing. Hey, it's time to wake up, man. You Israelites, it's time to wake up, man, and call on our power, Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai, to deliver us from this hell. It's time to wake up, man. There is another way. This ain't it, man. Stop trying to make this fucking captivity into all we have. So you just, no, man. This ain't all we got, man. We got Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai. We got better promises than this shit. Yeah? Get real, man. Stop trying to be under the illusion that there's something here for you. There's not. So if that, I'm going to say shalom.